The Waverly Hills Sanatorium, a dark history of disease, death, and haunting. Perched on a hill overlooking the city of Louisville, Kentucky, stands the imposing Waverly Hills Sanatorium, a vast, crumbling structure with a reputation as one of the most haunted places in America. Originally built in 1910 to treat patients suffering from tuberculosis, also known as the White Plague, Waverly Hills became a place of both hope and despair during one of the deadliest epidemics in American history. The sanatorium, designed to house over 400 patients at its peak, was meant to be a refuge where those suffering from the disease could receive treatment and care. However, with the high mortality rates of tuberculosis and the often experimental, painful treatments used at the time, the hospital quickly became a place associated with death and suffering. Over the years, thousands of patients died within its walls, and many of their spirits are said to still haunt the halls of the old sanatorium, unable to move on from the place where they met their tragic end. Today, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is a destination for paranormal enthusiasts, ghost hunters, and thrill seekers, all hoping to encounter the restless souls of the past. #### The origins of Waverly Hills. Waverly Hills Sanatorium was built in response to the tuberculosis outbreak that swept through Kentucky in the early 20th century. At the time, tuberculosis was one of the deadliest diseases in the world, with no known cure. Louisville was hit particularly hard by the epidemic due to its humid climate, which created the perfect breeding ground for the bacteria. As the number of cases grew, the city's existing hospitals could no longer accommodate the influx of patients, leading to the creation of a specialized facility. The original Waverly Hills Sanatorium, a small two-story wooden building, opened in 1910 to house just 40 tuberculosis patients. However, as the epidemic continued to rage, it became clear that a larger, more permanent facility was needed. In 1926, the current 5-story Gothic Revival structure was completed, capable of housing hundreds of patients at a time. With its long, winding hallways, open-air porches designed to expose patients to fresh air, and a massive, labyrinthine layout, the sanatorium quickly became one of the largest and most advanced tuberculosis treatment centers in the country. ### Life and Death at Waverly Hills. The treatments used at Waverly Hills during the height of the tuberculosis epidemic were primitive by modern standards, and many of them were extremely painful and often ineffective. Doctors believed that fresh air and sunlight were the keys to treating tuberculosis, so patients were placed on sun porches year-round, even in the dead of winter, sometimes with snow covering their bodies as they lay in their hospital beds. Other treatments included heliotherapy, which involved exposing patients to artificial UV lights to simulate sunlight, and thoracoplasty, a painful procedure that involved removing several ribs to allow the lungs to expand more easily. For many patients, these treatments provided little relief, and death was a common occurrence at Waverly Hills. It is estimated that as many as 8,000 people died at the sanatorium during its operation, although some estimates place the number much higher. The high death toll earned the sanatorium a reputation as a place of despair, where the sounds of coughing, groaning, and even screams echoed through the halls. The vast number of deaths eventually led to the creation of a macabre feature known as the body chute or the death tunnel. The death tunnel was a 500-foot-long sloping corridor that led from the hospital down to the railroad tracks at the bottom of the hill. It was originally designed as a supply tunnel, but as the death toll at Waverly Hills grew, it was repurposed to transport the bodies of deceased patients out of the hospital. In an effort to maintain morale among the patients still receiving treatment, the staff used the death tunnel to discreetly remove bodies from the sanatorium, loading them onto a cart that would be lowered down the chute to waiting hearses or trains. For many patients, the death tunnel became their final journey, and today, it is considered one of the most haunted areas of Waverly Hills. ### The Hauntings of Waverly Hills. With its dark history of suffering, death, and despair, it is no surprise that Waverly Hills Sanatorium is considered one of the most haunted places in the United States. Paranormal activity has been reported in nearly every part of the building, from shadowy apparitions to disembodied voices and mysterious noises. Visitors and ghost hunters who explore the sanatorium often leave with chilling stories of encounters with the supernatural. One of the most infamous spirits said to haunt Waverly Hills is that of a young girl known as Mary, who is believed to have been a patient at the sanatorium during its early years. Mary's ghost is often seen on the third floor of the building, where she is said to play with a ball in the hallways. Many visitors have reported hearing the sound of a ball bouncing on the floor, only to find that no one is there. Others have caught glimpses of a small figure in the distance, darting around corners or disappearing into rooms. Mary's ghost is one of the most commonly reported apparitions at Waverly Hills, and she is often described as a friendly but sad presence, as though she is forever trapped in the innocence of childhood. Another well-known spirit at Waverly Hills is that of a nurse who worked at the sanatorium during the height of the epidemic. Her ghost is said to haunt room 502, one of the most notorious and terrifying areas of the building. According to legend, the nurse who haunts room 502 took her own life by hanging herself in the room. Some say she was pregnant and unmarried, a scandalous situation at the time, which led her to despair. Others claim that she was overwhelmed by the death and suffering she witnessed every day and could no longer bear the emotional toll of working at the hospital. Visitors to room 502 have reported feeling intense feelings of sadness and dread, as well as seeing the ghostly figure of a woman standing in the doorway or peering out the window. Another chilling story tied to room 502 involves a second nurse who is said to have committed suicide by jumping from the roof of the sanatorium. Some visitors have claimed to see the figure of a woman on the roof, standing at the edge as if contemplating jumping, only for her to vanish before their eyes. The tragic events associated with room 502 have made it one of the most active and feared areas of the sanatorium, with many ghost hunters and visitors reporting an overwhelming sense of terror when entering the room. The Death Tunnel, or Body Chute, is another area of the sanatorium known for its intense paranormal activity. The tunnel's dark and claustrophobic atmosphere has unnerved many visitors, who report hearing strange sounds such as footsteps, voices, and whispers coming from deep within the tunnel. Some have even claimed to feel cold drafts or see shadowy figures moving through the tunnel, as though the spirits of the patients who were transported through it are still lingering there, unable to escape the horrors of their final moments. Throughout the building, shadowy figures are a common sight, particularly on the 4th and 5th floors. These shadowy apparitions are often seen darting down the hallways, disappearing into rooms, or standing silently at the end of a corridor. Some visitors have described these figures as human-shaped shadows, while others have said that they appear to be distorted, with elongated limbs or twisted, unnatural forms. The sight of these shadow people has left many visitors feeling unnerved, as though they are being watched by something that exists just beyond the realm of the living. The auditorium is another area where ghostly activity has been reported. The large, open room once served as a gathering space for patients and staff, but today, it is filled with an eerie stillness. Visitors have reported hearing faint voices or music, as if the room is still hosting gatherings from long ago. Some have claimed to see the ghostly figure of a man standing on the stage, watching silently, as though waiting for a performance that will never begin. #### The legacy of Waverly Hills. Waverly Hills Sanatorium closed its doors in 1961, following the development of effective treatments and antibiotics for tuberculosis. For a time, the building was repurposed as a geriatric hospital, but it eventually closed for good in the early 1980s. Since then, it has fallen into disrepair, but its haunted reputation has only grown. Today, Waverly Hills offers ghost tours and overnight investigations, drawing paranormal investigators and curious visitors from all over the world. The sanatorium's dark history and active hauntings have made it a favorite destination for those seeking to explore the supernatural. Many who visit leave with stories of eerie encounters, unexplained phenomena, and a deep sense of unease. For those brave enough to enter Waverly Hills Sanatorium, the experience is one they will never forget. The building stands as a testament to the thousands of lives lost within its walls and the lingering spirits that seem to remain, forever tied to the place where they suffered and died. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the stories of Waverly Hills remind us that the past is never truly gone, and in some places, it continues to haunt us in the most chilling ways possible.